Yeah, Colin. How are you, mate? Keeping those ladies honest down at the bowling club? Oi, sharp as a tack, eh? Bloody Colin, the mad bastard. Ah, Susan. How are you, love? How are those roses looking? I'm sure they're just as beautiful as you. Yeah. Oh, you're a weapon, old Suze. Ah, yes, g'day, and welcome back to the channel. If you're wondering what I was doing in that opening clip there, I was saying hello to my neighbours. That is the neighbours of the cul-de-sac. Because, yes, we now live in a cul-de-sac. That's right, the settling down end of the street. So I'm not too sure how that's going to go in times to come with certain neighbours, but so far so good. Now also, seeing as a lot of you that may not follow me on social media, you may have been wondering what has been going on for the last 3 months, or 4 months, 5 months, I can't actually remember how long. And that is of course preparing the new shed at the new house. That's at the end of the cul-de-sac. I do apologise for any kind of strobostic effect that I feel like the GoPro is going to pick up, but that's alright, we'll deal with that. Now, we were very fortunate indeed to sell our last house, basically within the family, which has given us the opportunity to buy this house and basically rip the shit out of it and reno everything that we can and that we want to before moving in. So that has included, obviously, the most important part, the shed. And also, very handy fact is that we are 200 meters around the corner from the old house. So achieving such tasks as renovating the shed and the house has been very easy indeed, as we're only a stone's throw away. So some of you would pretty much call it a dream setup, because I'd always wanted to do something similar to what I've done to this shed at the old house, but the logistics of moving all the cars and moving everything out and having it out for quite a significant amount of time, it just is not feasible at all. Like, this shit took pretty much the best part of 2 months and every weekend. So yeah, the walls, the floor, which will go over, but basically the whole lot has, yeah, it's definitely taken a lot more than I thought it would. I thought we'd be able to smash the walls out in a weekend, do the floors in a weekend, but yeah, it definitely doesn't work like that. So I guess we'll start with the most popular modification to the shed, and that would be the epoxy resin floor. Now, it's definitely no secret that people have been doing this for a while now. I personally got the motivation or the inspiration, whatever you want to call it, from Engineer to Slide. If you want to go check out the full rundown of the process, I suggest you go look over there, because he definitely did a shitload better than me, and he actually looked like he knew what he was doing. So, but having said that, I still think it came out pretty good. I didn't sand the floor like I kind of wish I had of. I sealed the gaps and I sort of did the best that I sort of thought would be okay, but yeah, hindsight's a bitch. I wish I had done a little bit more prep, but for the most part there's going to be cars on it anyway, and the part that I did put the most time and effort into is the workshop space. So this is basically where, from that brick pillar up to here, and then from here to there is all going to be workshop, and then they'll have one car there and one car here, slightly offset, so then we can have space in and around. And another common question that I've had is, how much did it all cost? Now, I know it's not cheap, and it was definitely more expensive than I thought it was going to be too, but there are cheaper ways to do it. So I went with the flake, as you can see, and that alone, the flake alone, was about 700 bucks. Pretty ridiculous, really. If I had known that it was going to be that much, then I probably wouldn't have done it, to be honest, but I'd sort of bought 2 buckets of it thinking that that was going to be enough, and I soon realized that it wasn't, so I had to buy another 2 buckets, which 170 bucks each. 180 or something, I can't remember. But epoxy resin itself, which is just one base coat and one sealer, was about 1,300 from memory, or maybe it was $1,000. I think it might have been about 1,000 bucks. Then I got a bunch of fillers as well. It was pretty much all up. The floors, alone were, yeah, I think I worked it out that it was just under 2 grand. So yeah, by no stretch is it a cheap mod, but you can do it yourself fairly easily, and it definitely transforms the whole feel of the shed. Now moving on to the second most obvious modification to the shed. It is the walls. So it originally was all cinder block because this is these are the foundations of the house. This is basically what the whole house is sitting on, and it was just all cinder block. Again, add some photos and videos in there for reference, but it just felt really damp. So another thing that I'd always really wanted to do, but wasn't kind of worth doing at the other house, is ply the walls. So again, no easy feat, as I soon found out. This particular application was a little bit of a bitch because they had sort of like a cinder block bulkhead, I guess you could call it, where it sort of stuck out about 50 mil. So we had to frame up all the walls and then make it flush with the top piece of cinder block. So me being dubious, thought that we could smash it out in a weekend, and that probably took about 4 alone. And then at the end of all that, we had the window frames to take care of because they were all looking funny. So we built new window frames around everything as well. So it was a tedious task, and I'm bloody glad I had help of a mate, because she wouldn't be looking this good if I had done it. I'll tell you that for free. Another thing, which was a fairly big hurdle to overcome once we figured out what we're doing, was to get rid of the wall. Now, this being sort of a somewhat load-bearing wall, I don't really know how safe it is to be saying much about this, but I'm gonna anyway. This was a wall here, so there was about 3 or 4 studs across there with all knocked up and everything, and we were concerned that that was supporting a large majority of the house. We soon realised that that probably wasn't the case because it had been added at some point, so we were able to chuck a couple of bits of high span in there and pretty much put a joist at either end, or stud, sorry, and then pretty much support that, which got rid of this wall. And then one of the first things we did was got rid of this wall here, because there was a room here and someone was living in it. This was all carpet, and that shit had to go. So initially I did want to try and get rid of all of these beams altogether, but I got a guy in here, I got an engineer, talked to a few engineers actually about what would that look like, and as you can imagine, it wasn't cheap. A little bit of a warehouse mitre 10, can't remember where, bit of a racking shelf kind of thing, had to sort of put my own little effect on it with the LED strip down there, and I've got USB power points everywhere. And the next and final modification that will be happening is the hoist. Now, some of you have hit me up and joked about it, saying, oh, when's the hoist going in, when's the hoist going in? There's actually one on the way. We've actually got it sorted. That was another sort of a dream item that I sort of always wanted to do, because yeah, you know, we've come this far, and they're bloody affordable, to be honest. It's not as crazy, it's not your huge big workshop hoist that you see that's, you know, 8-10 grand. You can get those just like a little cheap Chinese number from Trade Me. I think it's going to be about 3. So yeah, we've got one of them coming in October, which I've worked out that it should fit up in between the joists, the floor joists in there, and it'll give me about 100 mil, and I'll just have to convert the roller door to a manual door, get rid of the motor, because the car, well, the roof will be way up sort of there. But will I be able to stand under it and work, you know, like I'm in a workshop? No, probably not. I'm still going to be fucking low to the ground. But I worked it out, I think I'll get about 800. So that's pretty good, I reckon. And it's more for the case of just getting the car off the ground, because those of you that know, getting these cars off the ground in itself is a task. So, you know, you go front, back, jack stands, blah, 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 shag around. You spend 20 minutes getting the bastard off the ground, take the bumpers off, do everything that you gotta do. So it's really just to avoid that, or just to make fucking rubbish truck. But yeah, that'll be primo once that goes in anyway, because that'll just, you know, really top it all off, and then you'll have the somewhat workspace, and you'll have the car bang on central in the middle here. You have shitloads of room at the back, shitloads of room at the front. This will be workbench, welder, probably have the couch over there. The neglected shit box will sit there. That'll maybe make its way over here if it needs to, if it needs some needs to get off the ground, and we need to, when we do finally start hooking into that. But yeah, I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty excited, man. I'm bloody chuffed, to be honest. Yeah, wouldn't never have thought we'd be able to do this, but you know, stars aligned, and we made it happen. One more thing that I've forgotten while I'm standing here looking at it, and that is I really wanted to do the ceiling. That is pretty much the flex of all flexes when it comes to shed mods. I don't know when that's going to happen, but it is definitely on the cards. That is just another rather large portion of money that I don't know when will come available, but yeah, I'm sure you could guess what the lighting will be. We'll just do shitloads of downlights, probably do 12 each side. So if you just go 2, 4, 6, 18, 12 down there, and then it'll just like light up the whole bloody thing, and then you do the same along here, and then you'll be on. So that's, yeah, maybe that's next year's mod, I don't know, but it's not too major because you just have to get the cars out and then you can effectively do it. It's not sort of these, like the shed, the floor and the walls and all the other stuff are a pain in the ass to do when you've got stuff in the shed. So that was definitely on the radar to do, but didn't quite make it happen this time. But hey, we're gonna be here for, I reckon, we were at 5 years for at the last place, so I'm thinking we'll probably be, you know, 5, 10 at this one. So quick recap of what things sort of cost, because some people have been asking, I know I probably said that a lot, but some people have been asking what things cost. So the floor, call that too. The floor, the walls were pretty much 3. It was about 1,500 in ply. I gave my mate $1,000 cash, labor, whatever, and then all like supplies, hardware, bits and pieces, screws, you name it, bit of extra timber and shit. 500, $3,000, call it 5. And then what else was there? Can't actually remember what else there was. There was some other stuff. Oh, the beam. Yeah, that's right. This wasn't cheap. This was I was actually really cheap compared to what you buy them at the shop, but that was a few hundy. And then to yeah, get that up in there and shag around with it was a bit of a cost as well, but that was, yeah, sort of bugger all really. And just, I think just general miscellaneous shit, I think I worked it out that it was about, I think roughly 5.5, call it 5.5, and you can pretty much build somewhat of your dream shed. So for living in town, I know some people have been having me on say, oh, that's nothing, you should have gone to the country. Yes, would have liked to have gone to the country, but that just wasn't going to happen this time. Yeah, but a large part of that being the missus didn't want to move to the country, and I don't know, city living's kind of tight still, so that's pretty much us. So the next video or so, I think we're pretty much ready to start moving the cars in. As crazy as that seems, haven't touched any of the cars, and that obviously brings on a whole new round of questions. What's happening with the cars? Short answer, bugger all. Nothing's been happening with the cars. The red one, obviously, that you guys would have seen on the last video, yeah, did some damage to, not too sure what, most likely a ringland. So that'll be first project once we get that in here, pull that all down, shake around with it. But yeah, obviously move everything in the shed. So blabbering on at this point, but thank you very much guys for watching, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.